Welcome to Spectrum News at 12. I am Janice Cobham, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari appeals to Nigerians to remain patient as government takes appropriate action to mitigate hardships occasioned by Naira swap policy. INEC to get pool allocation from CBN Tuesday, plus Biden heads to Poland as Russia's invasion of Ukraine nears first anniversary. We'll bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Thanks for joining us on the news this afternoon. First in our report is that President Muhammadu Buhari has appealed to Nigerians to remain patient as his administration takes appropriate action to mitigate the hardships occasioned by the controversial Naira swap policy. The policy, described by some as hasty, was designed by the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) to limit cash hoarding and vote buying ahead of the general election, but has since given rise to Naira scarcity and violent protests across the country. According to a statement by the President's Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, Buhari made the plea in a video recording in Abuja. The president thanks Nigerians for electing him to be president for 2 terms and urged the citizens to vote for a good and reliable leader who is sure to build on the country's achievements.
To not allow themselves to be used by a few to foment trouble. I want to assure you that the government has taken adequate security measures to allow everyone to come out and cast their votes. I am therefore appealing to everyone to give them the necessary support. Fellow Nigerians, I want to use this opportunity to once again thank you for electing me to be your president on 2 occasions. I am not a contestant in this election, but my party, the All Progressive Congress, has a candidate in the person of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. As I mentioned before, Tinubu is a true believer in Nigeria, who loves the people and the development of our country. I am calling on all of you to vote Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He is reliable, and I trust he will build on our achievements. Finally, I want to once again assure you that I am fully aware of the current hardship you are facing as a result of some policies of the government which are meant to bring overall improvement to the country. I am appealing to you to act.
Meanwhile, the president has called on African Union AU member countries to strengthen early warning systems to rein in conflicts in the continent. The president also charged all AU member states to ratify the African Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA agreement. Nigerian positions and interventions on the issue were conveyed by the president during separate meetings at the 36th AU Summit in Addis Ababa. Buhari, according to a statement by his spokesperson Garba Shehu, urged all member states, African Union countries, and the secretariats of AfCFTA to continue supporting the implementation of the Free Trade Area Agreement. And moving away from that, the federal government says at least 38 local government areas in the northeast, comprising of Borno, Adamawa and Yobe states, are contaminated with high explosive ordinances due to the activities of insurgents in the region. According to reports, the federal government, through the Humanitarian Mine Action, identified explosive ordnance risk as one of the challenges inhibiting the return and prolonged displacement of citizens in the affected states. The coordinator, Humanitarian Mine Action Committee, Sadiq Shehu, stated that the threat posed by Entrepreneurial Operating System (EOS) has been documented in several national and international documents. He explained that insecurity in the Northeast remained a big challenge as it had limited access to arable land for agricultural production. And meanwhile, the federal government says about 40% of the volumes credited to crude oil losses in Nigeria petroleum industry are due to measurement inaccuracies and not theft. The Chief Executive, NUPRC, Gbenga Komolafe, disclosed this in his speech at the Petroleum Club quarterly dinner in Lagos. Komolafe said the audit was to ascertain with accuracy the stolen volume of crude oil within the preference period, noting that the Commission was committed to dealing with the issues of metering errors. He also stated that the Commission, in collaboration with the various arms of the security forces, NNPC Limited and the host communities, had been able to suppress the trend of hydrocarbon value decimation. We'll move now to electoral matters, where the Independent National Electoral Commission has expressed hope that its cash request presented to the Central Bank of Nigeria would be met on or before Tuesday. INEC National Commissioner and Chairman of its Committee on Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, said the Commission had earlier presented its cash requirement for prosecuting the forthcoming elections to the CBN in the face of scarcity of Naira notes in circulation. The Commission explained that though it does most of its payment through online transfers, some specific services have to be paid in cash. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Guild of Editors has urged the Independent National Electoral Commission to deliver on its promises to conduct successful polls. The body also called on the security agencies and other stakeholders to live up to expectations in ensuring that the presidential, national, and assembly elections scheduled for Saturday, February 25, and the governorship as well as state houses of assembly polls slated for March 11 turn out successful. This was contained in a communique signed by its president, Mustafa Issa, and the General Secretary, Yobosa Wogieren, at the end of a meeting of its standing committee in Abeokuta, Ogun State. In the meantime, the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States has commended the Nigerian government for creating a safe environment ahead of the general forthcoming elections. The agency made this known in a communique signed by the President of the Republic of Guinea and Chairman of ECOWAS Authority, Umaru Emblalo. According to the communique, the President of the ECOWAS Commission, Omar Toure, is to provide support for the Nigeria's 2023 general elections. On Naira crisis, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP has filed a lawsuit against President Muhammadu Buhari over the directive banning the use of old 500 Naira and 1,000 Naira banknotes, contrary to the interim injunction granted by the Supreme Court. Joined in the suit as defendants are the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, and the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. Recall that Buhari, in a national broadcast, had directed the CBN to recirculate only the old 200 Naira banknotes, thereby overruling the Supreme Court and banning the use of old 500 and 1,000 naira notes in the country. SERAP asked the court for a declaration that Buhari's directive banning the use of old banknotes was a fundamental breach of Section 287, subsection 1 of the Nigerian Constitution, 1999 as amended, and his constitutional oath of office. In a separate development, Human Environmental Development Agenda Header Resource Center says Nigeria had lost over 1 billion naira and over $825 billion to corrupt officials between 1999 and 2022. Heather Chairman Olariwaju Suraja in a press briefing said that in many cases, investigations are not completed, committee reports are not made public, white paper not released, among others. Suraju pointed out that the document is a collection of corruption cases being investigated by the Economic Financial Crime Commission (EFCC), Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC), and relevant committees of the National Assembly. We move now to Africa, where the African Union is organizing a national reconciliation conference for Libya in the latest efforts to restore stability in the country. The chairman of the AU Commission, Musa Mohammed, made the announcement at the end of the two-day summit in Addis Ababa. Meanwhile, the United Nations said that Libya's rival administrations had agreed on a mechanism to clear foreign troops and mercenaries from the country, but they have failed to come up with a timetable for their departure. And still on the African Union has reiterated its zero-tolerance approach to undemocratic changes of power in the continent. The Union said it would maintain the suspension of Burkina Faso, Guinea, Mali and Sudan, which are all ruled by military leaders following coups. The Commission for Political Affairs, Bankole Adeoye, said the African Union was ready to help those countries return to constitutional order and help democracy take root. On our foreign scene now, Pyongyang said that North Korea has fired 2 rockets in a drill for a launcher capable of a nuclear attack, which could take out the entire air bases. According to reports, it is the second weapon launch in 48 hours after it fired one of its most powerful intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, to protest plans for increased U.S.-South Korea military exercises. The South Korean military said it detected the launch of 2 short-range ballistic missiles. One traveled 390 kilometers and the other 340 kilometers before they landed in the East Sea. It described the launches as a serious provocation that undermines peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula and called on North Korea to desist from their actions. And still on the foreign scene, U.S. President Joe Biden is heading to Poland for a 2-day visit to mark the 1-year anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, returning to the region as the war enters a volatile new phase without a clear path to peace. In a statement, the White House said that Biden will arrive in Warsaw on Tuesday, where he will meet with Polish President Andrzej Duda. The statement noted that the president will deliver remarks ahead of the 1-year anniversary of Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine, addressing how the United States has rallied the world to support the people of Ukraine as they defend their freedom and democracy, and how he will continue to stand with the people of Ukraine till the end of the war. And still to come in the news, Flying Eagles lose 1-0 to Senegal. Do stay with us. For still being there. Now to the rest of our stories. We'll begin from our business scene. On business news, the Managing Director, International Businesses and Rebuild its Capacity in the Oil and Gas sector, Soja Lola, said this while speaking on the 5-year growth plan of the company during a press briefing in Lagos. He noted that IEI PLC was set for expansion after its acquisition by including the small and medium enterprises, educational institutions, religious societies and Market Women Association, amongst others. And still in business, stock investors reportedly lost 281 billion naira at the end of trading on the floor of the Nigerian Exchange Limited last week. The NGX all-share index and market capitalization depreciated by 0.96% and 0.95% to close the week at 53 respectively. Also, all other indices finished lower with the exception of NGX Premium, NGX Insurance, NGX Merry Growth, NGX Consumer Goods, NGX Oil and Gas. According to the NGX, 36 equities appreciated in our price last week, which is higher than 24 equities that appreciated in the previous week. We move now to health, where the Nigerian Medical Association (NMA) and Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria say the new Naira policy has worsened the healthcare situation in the country as people find it difficult to access services and drugs due to Naira scarcity. The Kwara NMA chairman, Dr. Ola Ahmed, said this during an interview with newsmen in Ilorin, noting that some patients may die due to unavailability of cash to pay for healthcare services in hospitals. Ahmed, however, said that the Kwara NMA would visit the management of the University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital and the Kwara State Hospital Management Board to discuss how best to tackle the situation to save lives. In the meantime, Nigeria's high fertility rate is allegedly associated with increasing insecurity, banditry, underemployment, maternal and infant mortality in the country. The chairman of the Association for the Advancement of Family Planning, Dr. Ejike Oji, said the growing youth population encouraged insecurity in the country. Also, the president of the Association for Reproductive and Family Health, Professor Oladipo, said the negative effects of overpopulation were expressed in different ways, including insecurity. The experts, however, said with free maternal health services and an increase in family planning, funding would reduce the high fertility rate and maternal fatality. Reports say Nigeria's fertility rate, which is said to be 5.3 births per woman, is one of the highest in the world. The fertility rate is the number of children born alive to women during the year as a proportion of the average annual population of women of the same age. Let's take some sports news. Nigeria's Flying Eagles' hope of winning a record-extending 8 continental titles started in disappointing fashion after suffering a narrow 1-0 loss to Senegal in their opening Group A match of the 2023 Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations in Egypt. Souleymane Faye scored from a rebound 5 minutes before the end of the first half to ensure that the young Lions of Taranga claimed the maximum points to go top of the group ahead of the Nigerian boys. The Nigeria Under-20 side will be particularly disappointed with the result after coming into the tournament on the back of a long unbeaten run, which included a win over Zambia and Congo in the last couple of weeks. Despite their early dominance, the Eagle failed to convert their chances and allowed the Senegalese to grow into the game. And still in sports, Sergio Roberto gave Barca the lead late in the first half from a rebound after Robert Lewandowski had a header cleared off the line. 3 minutes later, Lewandowski drilled in a fine drive from the edge of the box after being picked out by Roberto. It was both players' first league goal at the Nou Camp since 23 October's 4-0 win over Atletico Bilbao. The Poland striker has scored 15 goals in his first 19 La Liga appearances. Barcelona, whose nearest title rivals Real Madrid beat Osasuna 2-0 last Saturday, have won their past 7 La Liga games and are unbeaten in 13. On our entertainment news, it was a celebratory night for Nigerian music as Burna Boy, Rema and Thames dazzled fans with wonderful performances at the 2023 NBA All-Stars game yesterday. The NBA All-Star game took place in Salt City, Utah, where superstars from both conferences squared up for a thrilling match to raise funds for charity. On what was an exciting night, the All-Star match was won by Team Guineas by 184 points to Team LeBron's 175. And lastly, on our bulletin, World War I epic All Quiet on the Western Front has dominated at the BAFTAs, taking home 7 awards including Best Film. It also won Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Film Not in English Language, and Best Director for Edward Berger. Its 7 wins mean it has broken the BAFTA record for the most awards won by a film not in English. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do well to follow us on all our social media handles and ensure to subscribe to your YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 12. My name is Janice Cobham. Do have a great afternoon.